Hi guys, welcome to Homework Helper for homework number 60 that focuses on symbiotic relationships. Really quickly before we jump in and go over the answers, just remember that a symbiotic relationship is any relationship between two or more individuals, and they tend to be from different species. And if you remember from class, there are three types of symbiotic relationships. There's parasitism, mutualism, and commensalism. And we're going to quickly go through and we're going to use our face analogies, as well as our symbols to help us remember. So remember, parasitism, one individual is going to be helped, so it's going to be a smiley face, but the other individual in the relationship is going to be harmed. Another way to represent that is to do plus minus. For mutualism, both individuals in the relationship are going to receive a benefit from the relationship. So that's going to be plus. And lastly, we have commensalism. And for commensalism, it's going to be one individual benefiting from the relationship, and the other individual is neither harmed nor helped. So we're going to put just a neutral face. So for this guy, our symbols are going to be +0 because it's neither benefiting or being harmed. So we want to think about our symbols as well as our smiley faces as we read through these examples. And these examples reflect or mirror very closely what you're going to see on your test. So looking at number 1, it says lice feed off of horses. So we have two organisms here. This is our relationship. We just have to figure out what the symbols are, which causes the horse to develop more slowly and have poor nutrition. So the lice are going to feed off the horses. So the lice are definitely getting a positive out of this interaction here. All right, but let's look and see what happens to horses. It says horses develop more slowly and they have poor nutrition. So it seems like they're being harmed. So we're going to put a negative. Then all we have to do is match up the plus and minus to what we see up here at the top, and it looks like it matches up with parasitism. So that's going to be the answer to number 1. We're going to do the same thing for all of the other questions on the homework. Number 2, Spanish moss. So this is one organism. Stays alive on the oak tree, so that's our second organism, because it's higher up and cannot be eaten. So the Spanish moss is actually getting a benefit, so predators can't reach it, so that's a plus. While the oak tree is not affected. So the oak tree is not being harmed, but it's also not being helped. So the oak tree is just going to be a 0. So this one is our plus and 0, so we're just going to match that up with what we see on the top. And for this one, our Spanish moss and our oak tree, the relationship between the two is commensalism. For number 3, we have ticks and we have deer. Those are two organisms, and it says ticks feed off of deer, so they're getting a benefit, they're getting food. And now we just need to see what happens to the deer. While the deer can get Lyme disease, so they can actually get a disease from this interaction. So for this guy, it's going to be negative. So again, we're going to match up our plus and minus, and if we look on the top, this is another example of parasitism. For number 4, it says tick birds pick ticks off of the rhino. So we have tick birds and we have rhinos. Now this one's kind of confusing because we've given you 3 different organisms. But the tick bird is simply something that picks ticks off of the rhino. So if the rhino is removing, or if the rhino no longer has the tick on it, it's being benefited by the tick bird. So I'm going to say plus. And then we just need to figure out, what does the tick bird get out of this? Well, the rhino provides ticks for the birds. So the ticks are going to be a food supply. So this is also going to be a positive. So positive is an example of mutualism. For number 5, flowers provide nectar for bees. So bees are going to get food from flowers, so that's going to be a plus, while the bees provide transportation for the reproductive seeds of the flower. So the flower is actually going to increase its opportunity to reproduce because of the bees, so it's also going to benefit. And again, plus is an example of mutualism. So you want to go through for the last 3, identify the 2 organisms in each one of the questions and determine whether it's a plus, minus, or a 0, and then align your symbols with the symbols that we have across the top. And if you have any questions, feel free to stop by and see me. Good luck, and make sure that you practice this because you're going to see it on your test.